When a billionaire's eye-opening dinner reveals a single dad's struggles, an incredible transformation awaits. Each morning began in familiar chaos. Tom awakened to the piercing sounds of his two children bickering over cereal choices. "I want the chocolate ones." "No, I had those yesterday." The shouts intertwined with the soft, haunting echo of his late wife's laughter, lost yet ever present in their small apartment. At 38, Tom was a high school science teacher in Chicago. A role sparkled with passion, yet nagged by harsh reality. Bills loomed like storm clouds, casting shadows on his every decision. But some days he could barely navigate those dark waters. Finances tightened around his chest like a vice, squeezing out any last remnants of hope. He longed to inspire his students, to make science come alive in their minds, yet each lesson felt like climbing a mountain in snowshoes. The resentment within him clashed with dedication, finding himself constantly wondering if those lives would understand the struggles of an undervalued educator. The world outside the classroom whispered cruel judgments about teachers living paycheck to paycheck, and he felt like an imposter wearing a costume, desperately longing to shed it. Then, one evening, an unexpected invitation arrived like a lifeline thrown into turbulent seas, bright and out of reach. A dinner at the penthouse of Sarah Jennings, a billionaire accused of being cold, yet revered for her tireless fight for social justice. The thought alone twisted the knots in his stomach, and his breathing faltered as he stood before the mirror, grappling with a rising tide of claustrophobic dread. What did he have to offer in a room filled with power players? When he finally entered the grand venue, the skyline of Chicago glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating guests clad in designer suits and extravagant jewels. Tom settled at a table laden with gourmet dishes that danced around his vision, but he felt immeasurably small. Their laughter rang like thunder, a cruel reminder of the struggles he carried daily. Would anyone even care? As the evening unfurled, he wrestled with an aching urge to retreat into the shadows, yet his heart raced with a yearning to speak. When he finally found the courage, Tom shared the story of a devoted husband turned single dad, of sleepless nights spent juggling homework while grieving an unexpected loss. The room fell into a chasm of silence. He could feel the invisible threads connecting and pulling taut. Just when he feared his honesty would float away, he locked eyes with Sarah, her expression a mix of intrigue and challenge. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos.
And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tom's voice crackled as he delved deeper, pushing past layers of self-doubt. Could they hear his desperation over the clink of glasses? He sensed a flicker of awareness among the guests, a softening in their features as they began to share their own narratives. Yet with every tale of privilege taken for granted, the rawness of his truth clawed at his insides, sparking a fire that fueled his spirit. When Sarah revealed the painful history of educators in her family, a connection sparked electric, binding the circle of voices, each clinging to their own uncertainty. The tension morphed into a living thing, curling around him like smoke, thickening the air and wrapping Tom in a cocoon of possibilities. Yet deep inside, a gnawing suspicion festered. Was he worthy of the opportunity to transform this conversation into action? As hope breathed against the core of his being, he faced the fork in his narrative. Commit to this moment or retreat back into a survivor role, silencing his voice once more. Sarah leaned toward him, her eyes steely and warm, full of promise, but it was a promise he feared to embrace fully. Would he grasp this potential partnership or find himself shackled in self-doubt? The weight of the past loomed heavily, a locked door awaiting his decision. And as Tom opened his mouth to respond, the night pulsed with tension, hinting that everything was about to change. Tom's heart hammered against his ribcage. Could he really take this plunge? In that critical moment, time seemed to suspend, and the noise around him faded into a muted whisper. His life had been one of quiet struggle, shaped by grief and financial worries. Yet here he stood, tethered at the edge of an opportunity that could alter the course of not just his own life, but his children's as well. He could sense the stakes pulsing like a live wire. With a quick intake of breath, determination surged through him. "I'm ready to make a change," he said, his voice gaining clarity as each word felt like stepping on solid ground. I want to help my students see the possibilities in science, what it can mean for their lives and futures. But right now, I find myself weighed down by all of these responsibilities and my own doubts. As he spoke, he felt the energy in the room shift. It ignited a fire in him, a raw urgency to articulate his vision, not only for himself, but for the youth he was meant to guide. The genuine expression on Sarah's face encouraged him to dig deeper. This wasn't merely about survival, it was about impact. I work hard, but sometimes it feels pointless. I want my kids to grow up with opportunities, not limitations. He paused, steeling himself against the vulnerability of sharing a piece of his soul.
I want to inspire them, to show them that science isn't just a subject, it's a pathway. Like I said, I'm just tired of being a statistic. He met Sarah's gaze fully, a silent challenge exchanged. Her brow softened, and in those few seconds, he glimpsed an understanding that ran deeper than he'd hoped. It was a shift in their dialogue. This was no longer just a wealthy benefactor and a struggling teacher. He sensed a budding partnership on the horizon. "Well, what if we change that?" Sarah replied, her tone dynamic, eyes gleaming with purpose. "What if we explored ways to fund science programs in schools lacking resources? It could empower not just your students, but countless others in similar predicaments." Tom's mind raced through the ramifications of her suggestion. Could he truly be part of something that resonated beyond the classroom walls? His initial fears retreated, replaced with the tantalizing prospects of initiatives, future collaborations, and real changes for children like his own. Yet, amidst the thrill of this budding opportunity, something tugged at him again, a nagging shadow whispering of past failures, of dreams deferred. "What's the catch?" he asked, a skeptical edge creeping into his voice. Would she see him as merely a vessel for her own ambitions? And how do I fit into all this moving forward? I'm not looking for charity. I want to build something sustainable. Her gaze hardened momentarily, judging. "This isn't about handouts," she responded, her voice firm. "I see potential in you. I want someone on the ground to bring these ideas to life, someone who feels the struggle every day. But it needs to come from you. You'll have to take risks." The weight of her words lingered as Tom mulled over his next move. Would he embrace the potential to forge a legacy, or spurn the invitation in fear of a misstep? A voice inside suggested that this might be the chance to transform not just his life, but the lives of his students and children. With a few moments of silence enveloping them, Tom's pulse quickened in anticipation of making a significant choice. He felt the veil of uncertainty lifting, and for the first time, clarity emerged from the fog of doubt. Resilience stirred within him. After all, wasn't resilience born from hardship? As these thoughts spiraled through his mind, Sarah leaned forward, sensing the moment was ripe for engagement. "Let's discuss it further. There's a workshop next week to outline project ideas for teachers. I want you there, and I want you leading a part of it." The invitation pressed against his chest, a mix of thrill and trepidation flooding in. This was no small ask, and he would have to confront both the insecurities and hidden strengths within himself. Could he actually step into this role? But as Tom nodded, a new question gripped him. Was he truly ready to let go of the past and embrace the future?
In that suspenseful moment, one thing became clear. His journey to professional redemption was about to commence, and with it, every fear he had. The very essence of who he had been would be both challenged and transformed. And as the evening wound down, laden with unspoken agreements and expectant energy, Tom realized he now faced something far greater than he had ever anticipated, the reckoning of his own self-worth. Tom's resolve solidified as he walked away from the meeting, the lingering echo of Sarah's words pulsating in his mind. The invitation loomed large, a call to action he had never thought would be extended to him. Yet, with excitement, came a wave of self-doubt. Did he truly have what it took to lead? Later that night, he found himself sitting on the edge of his bed, the faint glow of the lamp illuminating the room strewn with papers, textbooks, and a world of untapped potential. Between the scattered relics of his teaching materials lay a worn notebook, its pages filled with thoughts he had penned during arduous years of self-assessment. Flipping it open,
He read through visions of classrooms transformed into dynamic environments where students thrived, a sharp contrast to the sterile space he currently filled with lectures devoid of inspiration. "I need to create something different," he muttered softly to himself, the weight of his words settling in the quiet room. He envisioned students huddled around lab tables, wide-eyed as they conducted real experiments. It fired a dormant passion within him, yet the realization that he would need to articulate this vision at the workshop paralyzed him with apprehension. What if he failed to convey the very essence of what he yearned to achieve? Restlessly he stood up, pacing the sparse room. Every inch of his home represented the constraints he had felt for so long, both financially and emotionally. Can I even do this? He grappled with that question, the dance between his ambition and insecurity spiraling into deeper introspection. Was the vibrant educator he envisioned simply a product of wishful thinking? He decided to confront the doubt head-on. As he grabbed a second notebook, he began to jot down a process, a plan. Step 1, define the objective. Step 2, outline potential projects. It felt almost therapeutic to externalize those swirling thoughts. With each stroke of the pen, clarity formed. He could serve not just as a teacher, but as a mentor who could guide his students into the scientific world, a realm filled with discovery. But what would they need? Resources, a network, motivation. But could he build a network? The thought made him wince. Connections had always felt like an elusive concept, particularly for someone like him. Yet Sarah had seen something in him, and that simple fact ignited the questioning embers of his gumption. What if the only thing standing between him and his aspirations was his own reluctance to step beyond his comfort zone?
The glow of the lamp flickered, a momentary distraction, but it solidified his decision. He would go to the workshop, not just to attend, but to make his presence felt. He thought of a quote he had once read, "To be a leader, you must first be a believer." As dawn broke the next morning, brightening the room, Tom resolved to believe, not only in himself, but in the vision bubbling up within him. He began reaching out to peers, gathering insights about effective science programs around the country. Crafting emails with deliberate intention, he tailored each message to reflect his emerging purpose, digging deeper into his network for support. Yet amidst this budding determination, another fear lurked just beneath the surface. Tom caught himself questioning his ability to bring others along on this journey. In his mind, he started rehearsing what he would say during the workshop. He would share his struggles, he would share his ambitions. But would others resonate with his honesty, or would they see him as inadequate? Tom felt the pressure mount with each passing day. He wasn't just stepping outside himself, he was risking exposure, revealing the heart of his vulnerabilities to a room full of strangers who could easily dismiss his ideas. But that was precisely where the stakes lay. This wasn't merely about him anymore, it was about his responsibility to ignite hope in others. With the countdown to the workshop ticking down, he concluded his evening routine with a reaffirming mantra that whispered resilience. But as he settled down, dreaming of his students' future, another part of him flickered with an unsettling thought. There was a palpable fear, not only of judgment, but of risking rejection, not just of his ideas, but of himself. Could he truly withstand the scrutiny? Would he emerge on the other side unscathed, or would the weight of those unyielding expectations crush him? The time for reflection grew shorter. Clarity beckoned. The question remained, how far was he willing to stretch himself in the face of unknown challenges? Each heartbeat resonated a new rhythm of anticipation, a ballroom dance with destiny, as it awaited his next move. Tom woke up the following morning with a sense of urgency pulsating through him. Today was the day he would present himself to new possibilities. He rose early, a stark contrast to his usual groggy attempts at waking. The sunlight streamed through the window, warmly illuminating the remnants of doubt shadowing him just a day prior. He felt lighter, as though a spark had ignited his true potential. He threw on a crisp white shirt, the fabric unwrinkling instantly. As he gazed in the mirror, he barely recognized the person looking back. There was a newfound determination in his posture that hadn't been present before. The hesitation that had lingered was being replaced by intentionality. He was stepping into a role that demanded more than just his time. It demanded his heart and soul.
Arriving at the venue, a sleek conference center, he couldn't help but notice the air buzzed with anticipation. Educators from across the country filled the lobby, chatting animatedly while sipping steaming cups of coffee. Tom stood at the fringe, watching, assessing, feeling the pulse of the environment around him. He observed interactions, the effortless camaraderie that perched casually between colleagues, a network Tom had always felt excluded from. What struck him next was not just a desire to be part of the crowd, but an overwhelming realization of what he had to offer. Clutching his notepad tightly, he squared his shoulders as he reminded himself of the vision he had sketched just days before, a classroom pulsating with inquiry, critical thinking, and engagement. This wasn't about proving himself, it was about igniting a fire in the hearts of his students. As the day progressed, each breakout session exposed various strategies and philosophies in education. Each presenter sparked ideas within him, as if illuminating paths he had never considered. Tom scribbled briskly, translating his mental whirlwinds into actionable insights. He pored over queries in his mind that could redefine his experience. How would he engage his students? What facilities were necessary? How could he reinvent what was seen as mundane? The breakthrough came unexpectedly during a panel discussion. A renowned educator spoke of risk-taking inside the classroom, how failure didn't need to be a bad word. Each anecdote resonated deeply with Tom, who had lived with the fear of inadequacy for far too long. It was a visceral reminder that he was not alone in his struggle. His heart raced as he listened, recognizing that vulnerability could be his greatest strength. Yet moments before his turn to speak in a small group discussion, an inner turmoil began its familiar creep. Did he really have the expertise to contribute meaningfully? His palms grew clammy as the clock ticked down, dredging up the specter of rejection he so feared. However, the words of the speaker echoed in his mind. Risk was inherent in growth. When he was finally called upon, Tom drew a deep breath and launched into a retelling of his challenges, his aspirations, and the vision he had begun to craft. He spoke about fostering curiosity amongst students by enabling a hands-on approach to learning. As he shared, the initial tremble in his voice morphed into assertive passion, his authenticity cutting through the air like a warm knife through butter. Faces around him began to nod in understanding, expressions shifting from skepticism to genuine interest. As he concluded, cheers erupted from those listening. There was no judgment, only shared enthusiasm for the innovation he yearned to create. In that moment, the specter of judgment dissipated, revealing a landscape of opportune connections, burgeoning possibilities, an avenue for mentoring others alongside his students.
Still buzzing from the exchange, an unexpected voice joined him afterward. A fellow educator approached him, eyes gleaming with excitement. "I want to talk about collaborating on a project. Your vision could immensely enrich our program." A flood of exhilaration coursed through him. What had begun as a fear had blossomed into an emerging partnership ripe with potential. As the workshop drew to a close, Tom walked out feeling exhilarated yet contemplative. The encounter had sparked new questions in his heart. What would this collaboration entail? What did it mean for his growth and vision? Would he embrace this opportunity wholeheartedly or retreat to the comfort of solitude? He felt a whirlwind of emotions, a blend of dread and excitement. As he stood at the threshold of this new chapter, the stakes had never been higher. The challenges ahead loomed large, but so did the promise of transformation. The dance with destiny was just beginning. The first steps had been taken, but what lay beyond this doorway was still cloaked in uncertainty. How far was he willing to go? And more importantly, could he face whatever awaited him next? As days turned into weeks, the whirlwind of excitement surrounding the potential collaboration began to settle into a routine of anticipation and trepidation. Tom found himself walking the same hallways, yet every echo in the corridor felt new. The prospect of working alongside the seasoned educator loomed large in his mind, shifting from exhilaration to a nagging anxiety that ate away at his confidence. He sat unnervingly at his desk one afternoon, staring blankly at the curriculum outline he'd begun drafting. Each line felt insipid, lacking the vibrancy he had fought to capture in his mind. What if he stumbled through the process? What if their ideas clashed? The prospect of collaboration had promised to elevate his vision, yet the shadows of insecurity clawed at him.
He had fought so hard for progress. Was this truly the next step, or merely a detour back into his self-imposed exile? Tom closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, and envisioned the buzzing conversations that had inspired him. He recalled the fervent exchanges during the workshops and the buzz in his chest when he articulated his dreams. That moment was crucial. It sparked something within him that he feared he might now extinguish. He opened his notepad, staring at the blank pages. The possibilities were endless, yet paralyzing. Flipping to the feedback he had collected, he scribbled down concepts: interactivity, adaptability, fostering creativity. Ideas flowed with energized momentum, and he felt his grip tightening around them. Still, doubt lingered, weighing heavily in his mind. Questions rattled incessantly. What if his approaches seemed naive? What if he became an unfathomable obstacle for his partner?
Instead of letting the process unfold organically, the specter of perfectionism crept back in, overshadowing him with doubts that undermined his initial resolve. Determined not to succumb to his fears, Tom sought refuge in the supportive network he had begun to forge. He reached out to the educator he had met, meeting for coffee to set the stage for their collaboration. Sweating bullets of nervousness, he arrived early, observing the bustling coffee shop, people lose in their chatter while he sat alone with his thoughts. When his partner arrived, Tom felt a shift. Her warm smile and genuine enthusiasm wrapped around him like a cloak. Their conversation began easily, starting with little more than pleasantries, but soon the dialogue deepened as they shared their visions. He was surprised to find that his hesitations melted away as they exchanged ideas. Every word sparked more excitement and laid bare a new path before him. Yet, amidst the shared laughter and inspiration, a moment arose when she caught his gaze, searching for his thoughts on a more adventurous approach integrating technology in the classroom. Tom hesitated. He knew he had so much more to contribute, but seconds stretched out, amplifying his fear. He could let this moment slip by, or risk revealing a side of himself he had buried for far too long. The pressure surged again, tightening every muscle within him. Would he let her down? No, we should definitely be bold, he said, surprising himself with the strong cadence in his voice. Engaging students through immersive experiences could change everything. As her face lit up, a thrill coursed through him. Each shred of doubt withered in that moment of shared ambition. They exchanged ideas, building on each other's notions, and the collaboration began to take shape. An amalgamation of hope and despair transformed into a tangible vision. Stepping back that evening, Tom felt a shift happening within him. The words he had spoken, the ideas invoked, all intermingled to create a living vision, something increasingly tangible. Each pitfall, he noticed, had become a stepping stone rather than an anchor. Yet, as he reflected, a new question lingered at the edge of his consciousness. Would stepping into this newfound world risk exposing parts of himself he wasn't ready to reclaim? The path of transformation was unfolding beneath his feet, yet it threatened to expose vulnerabilities he longed to keep veiled. The truth was a double-edged sword. Would embracing this collaboration free him, or entrap him further? He knew then that he had to decide. Would he continue to step into the light, embracing possibility, or retreat yet again into the shadows, fearing the exposure that came with it? Confronting that dilemma pushed him further into contemplation. The time had come to face not only the doubts surrounding collaboration, but the very essence of who he hoped to become. Would he emerge stronger, or weaken further amidst the struggle?
In the coming days, the choice loomed before him heavier than ever. What awaited him could either liberate him or drag him back into the depths of uncertainty. With the dawn of a new week, Tom found himself staring at the blank pages of his notepad again, feeling an urgent need to transform the swirling chaos of his thoughts into concrete plans. The moment of courage he had displayed in front of his partner resonated within him like the echo of a distant bell. While it had felt liberating, the anxiety it unearthed lingered. Each time he attempted to pen down his ideas, doubt seeped back in like an unwelcome tide. The coffee shop meeting had ignited a flame, a passionate collaboration that he had hoped would lift him. Yet the weight of those early insecurities returned with a deafening silence now that he sat alone, reflecting on the initiative they had embarked upon. The ideas they shared felt vibrant when tossed back and forth between them, but alone, each suggestion seemed muted, half-formed, trembling on the brink of incompetence. As the days progressed, Tom threw himself into research, a calculated strategy to build confidence incrementally. He meticulously combed through literature, case studies, and frameworks, determined to find data that could bolster his enthusiasm. But the knowledge amassed only amplified his feeling of inadequacy. Each new term he absorbed felt like a stark reminder that others were more adept, more knowledgeable, and more deserving of their rightful place on the collaborative stage. He questioned whether he belonged in this arena of seasoned educators and innovative thinkers. Late one night, under the solitary glow of his desk lamp, Tom sank deeper into self-examination. Whispers of his past failures, those moments steeped in embarrassment and frustration, clouded his thoughts. The instinct to retreat surfaced agnostically. But every time the temptation arose to slip back into the comfortable shadows, he forced himself to recall what flickered within him during that conversation with his partner, the shared vision, the exhilarating dance of creativity. Each memory acted like a buoy against the rising tide of despair. He needed to confront not just the fear of failure in this collaboration, but the fear that had plagued his entire career, the fear of being unworthy. It was time to align his self-image with the potentiality he could embody. Tom strategized by crafting a plan, not just for the curriculum, but for his personal growth. It would be a commitment to push through the intimidating doubt and carve his rightful place beside equally skilled professionals. Sharing his ideas with his partner once again became paramount. This time, Tom resolved to lead with vulnerability, allowing his insecurities to become a force rather than a hindrance. With each hesitating breath, he reminded himself of the textures of their last exchange, the warmth of willingness to listen and learn.
When the day came for their follow-up meeting, Tom felt a nervous knit in his stomach. But unlike before, this was not mere trepidation, it was anticipation, a thrilling urge he hadn't embraced in years. What would it feel like to openly acknowledge his uncertainties and let the partnership settle into a new rhythm? As he stepped into the coffee shop, he remembered the excitement he had felt when he first envisioned their collaborative project. This time, however, it was intertwined with an acknowledgement that sharing his fears could unleash the depths of creativity they had only begun to tap into. "Let's talk about our goals," he began, as his partner's smile welcomed him in. "But first, I need to share how much I've been wrestling with my confidence." Her attentive gaze ignited something within him, allowing fears to translate into a compelling narrative rather than paralyzing defeat. As he spoke, weaving between doubt and budding ideas, he felt something shift. The partnership wasn't just about merging talents, it was about lifting each other amidst uncertainties. Just as momentum began to build, a sudden thought interrupted his flow. Were they truly ready to dive into uncharted territory together, where each revelation bore the risk of exposing hidden insecurities? As Tom's voice trailed off, so did his certainty. The path lay blurred again, laden with the potential for both triumph and failure, and he was left wondering, would this be the defining moment where he both reclaimed his worth and harnessed the power of collaboration, or would the shadows once again swallow his resolve? In the days following his pivotal meeting with his partner, Tom felt the undeniable tension between fear and potential sparking in his chest. They had laid bare their vulnerabilities, which fostered an invigorating sense of openness he hadn't anticipated. Each conversation surrounding their project became a thread, weaving them closer as they navigated the uncertain waters together. The thrill of collaboration surged through him like a current, urging him forward. Yet after returning home that night, Tom found solitude heavy with unspoken fears. The exhilaration he had felt began to dull, suffocated by the weight of impending responsibilities. He opened his laptop, determined to map out the ideas they had shared, but the words remained distant ghosts on the screen. Glancing at his reflection in the muted glow of the computer, he confronted the creeping shadow of self-doubt that loomed over him. Was he truly equipped to steer this project into fruition? Determined to silence the inner critic, he dug into more resources, hoping practical application of knowledge could drown out the voices questioning his competence. To do so, he devised a systematic approach, breaking down each idea into actionable objectives. This was a new tactic for him. Instead of overwhelming himself with the magnitude of the project, he would tackle it one piece at a time.
As the week advanced, Tom cultivated the discipline to carve out daily time for focused work,
utilizing specific metrics that would allow him to measure progress. He set aside mornings for reading, afternoons for brainstorming, and evenings for consultations with his partner. Slowly but surely, the fog of uncertainty began to lift as clarity emerged from structured repetition. However, a nagging itch remained, pulsating at the edges of his resolve. The internal narrative replayed endlessly in his mind. What if this effort only culminated in disappointment? Was he merely hiding behind routine, attempting to guard against failure? Those thoughts came crashing back with alarming clarity during another coffee shop meeting. His partner was brimming with fresh ideas, while Tom felt a familiar tightness clawing at his throat. The notion of coming undone returned, creeping like vines over the foundation he was trying to build. "I want us to innovate, but what if we're not enough?" he confessed, the words tumbling from his lips before he could harness them. His partner met his gaze deliberately, her demeanor steady. "We don't have to chase perfection. We have to innovate together. Go beyond what's comfortable. That's what will make our project stand out." It was an invitation masked in challenge, a direct confrontation with the fear that had hampered Tom for so long. He recognized it was time to stop shying away from discomfort and commit to exploring uncharted waters, both personally and professionally. Over the next few days, a transformation began to unfold. Tom resumed morning runs, using the time to purge anxiety and let his thoughts flow freely. He sought to embrace failure, understanding it as an integral part of growth rather than an end. In writing sessions, instead of shunning imperfect ideas, he started to welcome them, transforming each misstep into a building block. Slowly, those tentative thoughts blossomed. The creative risks he took didn't feel like blunders. They became opportunities, cultivating unexpected insights. As Tom worked tirelessly upon the project, an undeniable spark ignited within him. He cultivated a growing sense of purpose and direction, yet still, deep down, the implicit challenge remained. How far would he be willing to stretch his limits? The clarity he experienced in those productive sessions made him question, was it only his professional life that needed this type of bold exploration? An even deeper life-altering revelation awaited beyond the horizon. Walking back home one evening, feelings swirling in the twilight, he realized he must engage with his personal life as courageously as he was approaching his collaboration. But as he crossed the threshold of his front door, a sudden wave of anxiety jolted him. Would he dare invite change into every aspect of his life, risking the stability he had struggled to create? Tom stood still in the hallway for a moment, contemplating the enormity of his choice. The familiar surroundings of his home felt stifling, the walls seemingly closing in on him as doubt tangled with determination in his mind. What did it mean to embrace change in his personal life, to alter the predictable patterns he had established? The question loomed like a specter, challenging his resolve to become more than the man he had always been. He made his way to the kitchen, his gaze falling on the table cluttered with old bills and reminders of fatherhood. Each piece of paper was a reminder, not just of responsibilities, but of aspirations yet unfulfilled. He caught sight of a photo of his daughter, Lily, laughing in a sunlit park. That moment captured her joy, but it also mirrored his yearning for something more meaningful in their lives. Could confronting his fears lead to a better future, not only for himself, but for Lily as well? Diving deeper within himself, Tom took a moment to evaluate what changes were necessary. He began to outline a personal development plan, much like he had for his project. After all, growth required intention and accountability. He addressed areas where self-imposed limitations twisted his aspirations into knots. Would he stop bending to the familiar rhythm of mediocrity? Would he dare to risk vulnerability in his relationships, be it with friends or, even more painfully, with his daughter? As days turned into night, Tom carved out time to ponder his approach to fatherhood. He committed to scheduling weekend activities with Lily, planning to step outside their comfort zone, to explore new neighborhoods, visit art galleries, maybe even take a cooking class together. He recalled how excited she had been when he had surprised her with impromptu méthodes before. That exhilaration had inexplicably faded alongside his own enthusiasm for life. At work, he approached his project with renewed focus. His communication with his partner deepened even further,
fueled by boldness instead of apprehension. They began tackling the bigger ideas head-on. Tom reveled in the shared brainstorming sessions, losing himself in vibrant discussions. Ideas flowed, and once felt trivial became vital threads in the tapestry of their venture. He was more than a participant. He was shaping the destiny of their collaboration. Yet, in the evenings, once the work was done, he wrestled with personal shadows. Could he truly be the father he envisioned? And would he have the strength to mend the fraying threads of connection with Lily? Each encounter with her was a test of patience. Facing his own vulnerability, he began to articulate fears and dreams during their moments together. One weekend, they took a small trip to a nearby beach. As they collected shells and played in the surf, Tom's heart swelled with dual emotions, the bliss of present joy juxtaposed with the pang of reality that all transformation comes with discomfort. Would he always doubt his parenting choices?
Or could he embrace uncertainty, understanding that perfection was not the goal? As they settled on the sand to watch the sunset, he engaged with her questions about his dreams. "Daddy, what do you want when you grow up?" she asked innocently. Her gaze pierced through the layers he had built around himself. The answer was not simple, nor did he have it all figured out. This moment laid bare the truth he had been dodging. He wanted fulfillment, not just professionally, but as a father. He wanted to be the man Lily could look up to show her that both security and change could coexist. However, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over everything, a new doubt threatened to rise within him. What if this newfound courage was only a fleeting phase? As he looked at Lily, a mix of fear and determination settled within him. Would he rise to the occasion when the waves of insecurities crashed over him again? Just then, as they turned to leave the beach, he received a notification on his phone. An invitation to an exclusive dinner hosted by a billionaire entrepreneur. The timing felt too serendipitous, as if fate were nudging him towards something significant. But would this new opportunity bring him closer to the change he craved, or push him back into the shadows of doubt? Tom could feel the weight of the invitation as he stood there, the dim glow of the screen lighting up his uncertainty. A chance to rub elbows with a billionaire, an opportunity that seemed perfectly timed, yet surreal. Was he ready to step into a new arena, one that demanded confidence and charisma? Or was this yet another example of him reaching for something beyond his grasp? Each tick of the clock as he contemplated the dinner felt like a countdown rather than mere passage of time. He could envision the lush banquet setting, the clink of glasses, and the murmur of ambitious conversations. He wasn't just a participant. He felt like an outsider peering in at a flashy world that was a stark contrast to his current modest existence. It was exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. That night, thoughts of the event clashed with lingering doubts. Could he genuinely present himself as someone worthy of the company of successful individuals? He began replaying past moments when he had felt small, when he had second-guessed his ideas in meetings, or stumbled over his words while trying to engage with colleagues. Each memory transformed into a gnawing fear, threatening to overshadow the excitement of the upcoming opportunity. As the days passed, Tom's internal dialogue intensified. He began preparing, researching the host and his ventures, rehearsing potential conversation starters in the mirror. He knew he had the skills. He'd climbed corporate ladders through hard work and tenacity, but the thought of failure, of being laughed off or ignored, made him hesitate. He returned his focus to Lily, drawing strength from their interactions.
They baked cookies together one rainy afternoon, splattering flour between fits of laughter. It reminded him that vulnerability wasn't synonymous with weakness. It was a bridge to intimacy. He realized that if he could be honest with her about his struggles, maybe he could do the same in more significant social contexts. In the last hour before the dinner, he found himself standing in front of the full-length mirror, adjusting his tie, feeling the palpitations quicken in his chest. He recited affirmations, drawing from the resolve he had built alongside Lily. He reminded himself of the changes he sought, a father who could aspire for more, who could model resilience, and who could lead by example. As he stepped into the event hall, an overwhelming blend of aromas and sounds struck him. He felt a wave of intimidation wash over him. Was he really ready for this? Each step seemed to echo a question unanswered. But then he caught sight of small clusters of conversations, peers exchanging ideas, laughter floating above the crowd. If they could do it, why couldn't he? A deep breath filled his lungs as he approached the buffet table, scanning the craving eyes and sparkling conversations that seemed to form a magnetic energy. Just as he gathered his bearings, a familiar figure appeared through the crowd, a mentor from his past, someone who had championed him in earlier years. The mere presence of that lighted path rekindled hope within him. "Tom, it's been a while," his mentor exclaimed. They embraced, and in that moment, an unexpected weight lifted from his shoulders. He realized that he was more than just a single dad navigating unknown waters. He was an amalgamation of experiences, dreams, and potential. As they shared stories, Tom felt a spark ignite. Their conversation turned to lessons learned and future aspirations, and he found himself opening up about his desires as a father, his professional dreams, and the transformative power of personal growth. Yet, even as conversations flowed, a shadow loomed. He soon learned the main attraction for the evening was an elaborate pitch competition. Attendees were encouraged to present their ideas to the billionaire, competing for funding and mentorship. Anxiety surged again, threatening to suffocate the newfound confidence that had blossomed. Would he rise to the challenge, or would fear drag him back down? This moment, he realized, would either propel him forward or bury him under habitual reluctance. The stakes had never felt higher, and as he scanned the crowd of eager entrepreneurs, he understood the fundamental truth. The choice lay with him. Would he seize the moment and lay bare his ambitions before them, or would this be another missed opportunity, lost in the bubble of uncertainty? As the host stepped up to the microphone, initiating the pitch competition, Tom's pulse quickened. This was it. The time had come to face himself and his ambition head-on.
Would he remain on the sidelines, or would he find the strength within to take the stage? Tom's heart thudded relentlessly in his chest as the host introduced the pitch competition, the spotlight wavering unpredictably between the microphone and the eager faces in the audience. The cacophony of voices faded, leaving only the sound of his own breathing as the weight of possibility pressed down on him. Could he rise to this occasion? As he watched one participant after another step forward, articulate their dreams, and bagel ideas, a growing sense of urgency surged within him. Each voice resonated confidence and ambition, but beneath their polished presentations lay his reality, the raw, unpolished journey of a single dad determined to redefine his life and the futures of the children he taught. At last, an unexpected warmth enveloped him, eluding the grip of self-doubt threatening to pull him back into the shadows. Suddenly, the host's voice broke through his contemplation. Next up is Tom, a passionate educator with a vision that transcends the classroom. A gentle nudge from the audience propelled him toward the stage, and with every step, his confidence solidified. Standing before the gathering, Tom could see the shimmering potential in every eye, no longer strangers, but allies on an uncharted path. "Hello, everyone," he began, every syllable finding its rightful place. "I'm Tom, a high school science teacher and a single father. My ambition is not just to teach science, but to create an engaging environment where students become active participants in their learning." Each word strengthened his resolve, weaving the fabric of his vision, a stark contrast to the tightly wound uncertainty he had felt days earlier. He shared stories of his struggles and triumphs, locking eyes with the audience, his authenticity drawing them in. He framed his vision around interactivity and real-world problem-solving, detailing an innovative program that could revolutionize the way students approached science. Courage gripped his speech like a vice, while vulnerability dared to break through the surface. "My aim is to empower students to see science as not merely a subject, but a pathway toward their dreams." As his pitch flowed freely, sparking a palpable energy that resonated with the room, he shifted into sharing the tangible steps he had outlined: collaborative projects, partnerships with local businesses, and integrating technology to enhance the learning experience. In that moment of shared aspiration and connection, he craved not only funding, but a community dedicated to nurturing this vision alongside him. With a newfound clarity, he embraced the reality that this endeavor was not solely about him. It represented collective empowerment of youths longing for opportunities. When he concluded his presentation, a wave of applause cascaded through the room.
Not only had he shared his vision, he'd also unveiled the challenges he had overcome to stand there before them. The warm reception felt like a balm to years of self-doubt that had churned within him. The host invited questions from the audience, and soon voices chimed in curiosity. How can we support this vision? What's the next step? They were deeply engaged, their interest palpable. He could feel the spark of connections firing between him and the audience, forging a coalition bound by purpose and ambition. As the pitching competition continued, conversations came alive around him. Potential partnerships began to emerge, resonating with the inclusive spirit he aimed to cultivate. In the days that followed, Tom received a flood of messages. Individuals who resonated with his vision began reaching out, eager to collaborate, to lend their expertise and resources. It became clear the fear that had once gripped him was slowly dissipating, replaced by an empowering network ignited by honesty and aspiration. The culmination of these events cemented his transformation. No longer just navigating life as the single dad in financial strain, he had grasped opportunities and recognized his own worth. Each meeting, each partnership was a testament to significant personal growth, an emblem of the father he'd become not only for his kids, but for the students he mentored. With the program taking shape, Tom felt a solid confidence solidifying within him, rooted in the recognition that not only could he inspire change, he could lead it. Conversations with Lily flourished. Each venture into the unpredictable became an opportunity for him to model the beauty of growth beyond limitations. Tom's eyes drifted toward a photo that had once been the silent witness of his struggle, but now merely served as a reminder of what he had achieved. The man reflected in that image was no longer a figure lost in grief. He had embraced the fullness of life with unwavering tenacity. In the climactic moment of resolution, Tom stood before a gathering of fellow educators eagerly awaiting the presentation of his program, the culmination of dreams that had once felt unattainable. He realized his unique journey had not only led to broader opportunities for himself, but had the potential to shape a generation committed to pursuing ambition. Looking around at those present, their eager faces mirrored the possibility of transformation. The path before him illuminated with purpose, assuring him that he had finally claimed the identity he had long craved and deserved. Gratefulness surged through him. The dreamer and the doer harmonized as a new era beckoned. It was time, he recognized, to step forward fully into his new role. Now is the time to embrace change. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss out on our next exclusive emotional stories that inspire real transformation. Like the video now to help feed the algorithm, and let us know your reactions and theories about the ending in the comments below. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this uplifting conclusion. You need to show your support today.